Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Steven. I'm here in the stew this morning with a very cool horn. This is my Kanstul 725 custom flugelhorn. Very cool horn. Special thanks to Joe Harris for selling me his. He had a garage sale going on and I saw that he had this Kanstul sitting there and had to jump on it. Needed a lot of work. And I'll tell you about the work that I got done on this one. But very cool horn. A little bit about the 725 Kanstul flugelhorn. It was originally built as a student horn. Back in the late 90s, this is from the late 90s, Kanstul came out with this awesome design. Horizontal valve block, kind of like your typical student horn sort of setup for a flugelhorn. But what separated Kanstul from all the others is this one is one of the best flugelhorns I've ever played, despite the fact that it's built as a student horn with horizontal valves. My very first flugelhorn was this nasty Blessing Scholastic flugelhorn with the same sort of design, and it was awful. It was absolutely horrible, did not play well in any register. It was just not a very good flugelhorn. So when I heard about these, I was very skeptical, but nope, they are absolutely incredible. It's unbelievable what the team at Kanstul did to make this horn play so well. Some things that separate this from the competition. It has a 453 bore. So if you're like me and you play on a medium bore committee, like a lot of committee players, a medium bore committee is about a 453. This one is a 453. So it feels a lot like a medium bore trumpet. Doesn't feel like a small bore flugelhorn like your typical Box and Yamahas and Edwards and Getson. It definitely plays a little more like a trumpet with the blow. You could sort of blow through the horn more, if that makes sense. You don't have to sort of sit inside of that sort of conical feel. Very cool playing experience. And this makes it, in my opinion, one of the best outdoor flugelhorns ever made. You know, typically when you play flugelhorn outdoor, if you're playing like for a German polka band, that almost always plays outside and almost always has a flugelhorn in the line, you really can't be heard all that well. But on a Kanstul 725 with that bigger bore, you really can put some air through this thing and it sounds so cool. At a higher dynamic, these horns sound a lot like an opera tenor soloist voice. Just absolutely belts. It's beautiful. While the tone is great, I do think the best part about this flugelhorn is by far the intonation. My goodness. Flugelhorns, as I'm sure you know, flugelhorns can be sketchy in different registers. A lot of times, flugelhorn is extremely flat down low, for me at least, and then up high it gets very sharp. This horn is an anomaly. It just plays right down the middle almost all the time. It feels like a trumpet, how as long as you set everything up correctly and you play with the right sort of support, it just comes out in tune. That's this flugelhorn. It's kind of crazy. Build quality, also amazing. If you take a look at this one, 4713 is my serial, which I believe is the late 90s. But despite all that, crazy compression all day. The valves, which we'll talk about Kanstul valves a little later, but the valves have this awesome sort of gold lacquer on the valve stems. And of course, just your regular Monel valves. But very well built. Oh my gosh, brass valve guides. Isn't that crazy? On a student flugelhorn, brass valve guides and a one-piece bell. Yeah, no two-piece bell here. Kanstul really, from the top of the Kanstul line to the student horns, they really made everything so well. Speaking of those valves, I don't like Kanstul valves. I'm sorry. No hate to Kanstul as a brand. I love the stuff that they made. I don't like most of their valves, and this one kind of rings true here. You'll see in my playing later. These just stick. I don't know if it's me. It's probably a little bit of my chemistry through the horn. The valves just stick for me. You know, this one has been totally gone through by my repair tech, and there's no dings in the valve casing. There's nothing that should hold up these valves, but they just stick. They stick at about right there for me. And you might have just saw that right there. Yeah, they press down so well, and then there's this one spot on the bottoms of all these valves right there where the spring just doesn't engage as much as I wish it did. I'm sure I could easily fix that, but it's not that big of an issue. It's kind of a backup horn. Now, other than the valves, the only other thing about this horn that I really don't like is the mouthpipe. More specifically, the mouthpiece taper. Kanstuls use a Queen-on French mouthpiece taper, and it really limits you on what you could find out there when it comes to just buying a good mouthpiece that's a good fit for the horn. Most flugelhorns now use the large taper, which is Yamaha's, Getzen, all those other sort of mainstream ones. Other than Bach, those use the large mouthpiece taper, and you could find any size on earth for that. But this Queen-on taper, it's weird. If you've never played a Queen-on or a Queen-on taper, this is the mouthpiece. There is hardly any taper at all. It mostly goes straight to the shank until it bottoms out. You can see right here. It goes in and then it just seats in there all the way down. It's very, very strange, and it really swallows almost the entire shank. And that's just by design. And if you think I'm lying, this is a Kanstul mouthpiece. Surprisingly, the best mouthpiece that I could find for this horn is the Kanstul mouthpiece that came with it. This is a Kanstul Anaheim F, which I believe is French taper. Feels a lot like a 3 diameter, and I'm not going to think too much about the specs, because if I think too much about specs, I overthink everything. Now, the custom work that I got done on this horn, if you take a look at it, did not come with a first valve slide hook. So luckily, my repair tech Taylor O'Hanlon over at O'Hanlon Brass Instrument Repair had a new old stock sort of student horn Kanstul hook that sort of wraps to right here. There's a little like solder point on the first valve slide, and he worked the slide so it moves amazing now. So awesome. Also added a sort of box strad style under third valve slide catch right here. The ones that came on these, I believe they were like that plastic one that came on some student Getzens and student Kanstuls, but this one has a really nice box strad style stop, and it just works really, really well. When I got this horn, it was in decent shape. It's been sitting for years. Got all the slides pulled and had to add in a adjustable third valve slide pinky ring holder, a ring holder, because this one did not have one at all. This one came off. Now, if I do have to complain about anything about the playing characteristics of this horn, sometimes it does come across a little mellophony, just a little floopy in between valve changes. And I think that's just because the horn is so direct. It's a horizontal valve slide configuration. This horn does play very direct. It's not cylindrical, but it sounds more cylindrical than most flugelhorns, if that makes sense. So to demo this 725, here's a little bit of me noodling over the final track of my EP that's coming out this summer. And make sure you go on Spotify and save SPACY by Soul Orchid to your playlist, especially if you like synth pop with a little bit of trumpet underneath it.